Good morning, fellow people. Today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. Here we are in wonderful Pahrump, Tucky. You choose. My name is Edward Bevilacqua. This is Department of Career Services. And our goal is to help our students and interested people on their journey through this life, in which we possess a transcendent soul, meaning this is not all that there is. We are not just born, stuff happens, we suffer and die. Or we pursue la vida loca because there's nothing after this. Nope, we believe there is sufficient evidence. The preponderance of the evidence is that currently the preponderance of the evidence is that we have a transcendent soul that survives after our physical death. And if that is the case, it is reasonable to assume that what happens after is a function of what happens now. So how we behave now has an impact on what happens later. And thus our goal is to help our students and interested people on their journey towards the best destination. Note, this is not designed for people who feel they are already saved or people who are successful. You don't need it. If you feel you're saved, you don't need anything. You're already saved. You don't even need to worry about acting in any particular way on your journey because you're going to the ultimate best destination anyway. And if that's what you believe, cool, good, this is not for you. But for the rest of us, so statistically, you are a Christian, you're now, but you're actually a Protestant Christian because the typical Protestant doesn't believe that Catholics are actually Christians. So now we're down from 2 billion people down to, say, 1 billion people, 1 out of 12 people in the world. And then if you add on your particular strain of Protestantism, it's probably like 1 out of every 20 people in the world is saved according to your standards. So this is not for the 1 in 20 people. This is for the 19 in 20 people, minus those who are already successful. So maybe this is for the 18 out of 20 people, not the 1 out of, or the 2 out of 20 people in the world. All righty then. So that is what our thing is. And anyway, so that's why we're here. How do we do it? We do it through this podcast. And the key part about the podcast is the worksheet down below, the experts. It's the experts. I don't claim to be an expert or to know anything. I'm just the guy that shows up every day to help. The other thing, the pragmatic part of how we help you is to create better habits, to replace habits with better habits. And we do that through repetition, mainly. 90% of it is repetition. The other 30% is thinking about what kind of habits we want to improve. Okay, so if you smoke, every time you take out a cigarette, have a habit of pinching off 1/2 inch. Boom. And then maybe next week, a little bit more than that, not a little bit more than that. And then pretty soon, you know what? This is a waste of time and money. It's kind of a not great thing to do socially. It's expensive. I could put that money to better use. People who are winners, who are in quote winners, are not people who generally smoke. It's the other people who smoke because it makes them feel good, fundamentally. Okay, so that would be an example. It could apply to drinking, could apply to eating, overeating, getting fat. Just all our goal is to help you develop better habits. So it's repetition, 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 but it is also thinking about what habit do I want to improve, or to always constantly have a proto habit, an underlying habit of looking for better habits. So for example, to build a little bit more of not being bothered by little things. You could have a proto habit of get comfortable being uncomfortable. So you get in the habit of whenever you get in a car, you move the seat forward. So not that your knees are touching the dashboard, but they're almost touching the dashboard. You make a habit of not turning on the air conditioner or adjusting the vents, just if you're a passenger. So get in the habit of being uncomfortable. Wear 2 shirts. Get in the habit of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. All right, so that's 5 minutes in. This is going to be a short one because today is our volunteers breakfast at the Methodist Church, which we are very proud to be to support. Love Thy Neighbor is proud to support the Methodist Church in their efforts to help those in need. And so they enable us to use their meeting hall every Wednesday morning from 7:30 is when we can open the doors till 9. From 8 to 9 is the breakfast. All are welcome. It's a simple breakfast in solidarity with those people who don't really get to have breakfast. So, got to get ready for that because I've got to be there at 7:30 to unlock the doors. That's my job. And make the coffee and set up the tables. Things like that. Just the simple stuff. Today's theme. So anyway, it's going to be a quickie. Most people probably saying, thank God. Thank God. But who do we have here? So we have it looks like we have the third triumvirate. Mr. Bojangles, Watabeve, and Maticus von Atticus, Untersergeant Ordinaire, self-appointed field marshal, etc. I'm glad everyone is here. Rock in the shoe. Right. Okay, that would be another one. Put a little pebble in your shoe. I am walking in heavy rain, so being in the chat will be difficult, but I'll try. Good. See, that's an example. That is an example of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Or an extreme version of that would be to embrace the suck. Life sucks. Embrace it. Luke chapter 6. What else we got here? Okay, Maticus von Atticus. How are things in Fort Prescott? And we hopefully, Bo, we will have eggs, right? Eggs for breakfast. Maybe some sandwiches. We don't need to have 1+ sandwiches per person. I would say figure 16 people. Maybe 12 sandwiches, 12 things from Starbucks probably should do the trick. Fruit, I will bring oranges and boobangies, aka bananas. That's how they pronounce it on the planet Zeta, boobangies. Hard-boiled eggs and sandwiches. Okay, good. Also posted a little note. We need everybody to sign the agreements, which I have made copies of. So let me talk for a second about yesterday's meeting. The day after. So the day after what? The day after September 10th, my birthday. Had a great birthday breakfast. Gift by Denny's. Had a great lunch with Diana Stater, a collaborator, co-conspirator, somebody who's very smart, passionate, and has skills. Talking about how do we help the less fortunate. We're having a great lunch at California Pizza Kitchen. And then after that for dinner, then rushing off to dinner, a nice, comfortable lunch, and rushing off to dinner with another great woman of Las Vegas to a nice Italian dinner. So, and a late night. It's a long drive back, a long, late drive back. So very good breakfast. Also heard from my chitlins, my children, and that was good. So a good birthday. So that's the day after. Also, though, at 10 o'clock, had a meeting where I have to give due credit to the director of planning, Brett Wagner, for pulling together a room with virtually all of the public officials who are generally people not helping us move forward, not helping me move forward. So the planning director gets credit for pulling them all together in the room. So faced with all my persecutors, plus my hedge of protection at my side, and of course, attorney on Zoom. And I think we came to an accord that basically is if we are renting rooms, we will be treated as any other landlord that is renting rooms. But we are not able to do the things that we don't do or that we don't try to do. In other words, we don't try to be a transitional prison to community program. In other words, we don't try to be a drug and alcohol rehab program. In other words, we don't try to be intermediary care. We just rent rooms to people. And when I say we, in that case, I actually don't mean we, I mean a brighter beginning. The owner of the properties or the master lessee of the properties is just trying to rent rooms to people in need, to give people an opportunity who wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity. So a brighter beginning has properties that it is willing to allow Love Thy Neighbor, the volunteer organization, to fill. So the volunteer organization that we are members of Love Thy Neighbor, is working with churches and other organizations to fill the beds in the properties owned or master leased by A Brighter Beginning. And if those people want other services, like they want spiritual guidance, they want to be part of a church, Love Thy Neighbor will introduce them and help them become a member of a church. Or if they need a driver's license, Love Thy Neighbor will help get them the resources they need to get a driver's license, or food stamps, or Medicaid, or education services, or employment services, or what else? Mental health or medical services. So Love Thy Neighbor is a group of volunteers who are dedicated to helping people per Matthew 25, 35 through 36, to help the hungry, the thirsty, the sick, the unclothed, the homeless, and people in prison. That's what Love Thy Neighbor does. What Love Thy Neighbor volunteers do. Many hands make light work. So the day after the meeting, we got an accord. I believe we have an accord with the county that when I say we, I shouldn't say we, I gotta delete that from my vocabulary. An accord that A Brighter Beginning, it's only because I wear several hats like many other people, that Love Thy Neighbor has an accord with the county that if it's a landlord, if A Brighter Beginning is a landlord, so I want to be clear, Brighter Beginning, property owner, rent rooms to people in need. Love Thy Neighbor, volunteer organization. Consider it like case management. Consider it to be like the coalition, where they don't actually do a lot, but they help guide people, a bunch of community health workers. They help people get the resources they need. Consider that Love Thy Neighbor is a faith-based version of the coalition, and it has relationships with people who actually provide the services directly. And then there are providers. like specific churches, like specific opticians, like specific government entities, like specific medical and mental health providers, where the choice is always made by the client, by the person. Just like with the coalition, it is client driven. They make the decisions. So that's what we got. Three primary organizations. And I am a member of Love Thy Neighbor. Okay. Anyway, so that was the log version of the short meeting, getting it out there on the record. I'm going to give, again, thanks to the planning director, Brett Wagner, who generally he and I do not see the world through the same lens, but I have to give him credit for pulling everybody together. And what do I mean by everybody? Well, the Nye County Sheriff's Lieutenant was there. This is, and again, me, okay. The Nye County Sheriff's Lieutenant and Nye County Sheriff's Office Detective, District Attorney, Deputy District Attorney, I guess. Wasn't really clear. Other than she said she worked at the District Attorney's office. Or maybe she said it, I don't remember. Sergeant Parole and Probation, that the head of that, a bunch of people from planning and enforcement, and the planning director himself, Mr. Brett Wagner, who I think deserves a lot of credit for pulling 9 of these high-level, high-paid people into a 1+ hour meeting. Yes, they had technical difficulties. They couldn't get the microphones to work, so the people on Zoom could see, but they were not able to hear. So we had to improvise. That took some time to do. And so the spirit of technology was not with the county yesterday. They couldn't get the microphones to work. But for ingenuity and common sense, the people on Zoom would not have been able to participate because the microphones in the room were not working and nobody knew how to fix them. Probably work now, though. But a lot of credit to the planning director, Mr. Brett Wagner, for pulling all of these people together. So he gave them the message, this is important, you have to be there, we have to be there. And they were there. And an accord was reached. And special thanks also to Pastor Frank Esposito for being there, observing the whole thing, and Richard Scotty, attorney, former judge, for being there on Zoom and contributing. So that is the day after. Now we have to provide them with documentation, copies of signed agreements with the people living in the rooms. And of course, I always offer the caveat, we will adjust it so that it fits into your requirements. If something is not correct here, we will adjust it. It's no big deal. If you want us to evict everybody and start over, we will do that. We're just trying, in this case, I'm wearing my Brighter Beginning hat. Brighter Beginning is just trying to rent rooms to help people in need, to help people who otherwise would be probably living in the park or in their car or somewhere else not good. So we're trying to do as Jesus commanded, to help the homeless. And with that, I have to say, Shivas and Shalom, people. Shivas and Shalom. Pastor Frank is my hero. Yes, Des Moines 2032. Portland is a place for that. Aha, Diana's there today. Good morning, Diana. Yes. Watabebe, excellent. Oh, your chitlins, ha ha ha. Okay, hard boils sandwiches. And when we say boils, we don't mean skin infections. Right. Okay, so let's go out there, make something happen in service, help those less fortunate. You'll feel better about it. And with that, I will say, and